If you're co-parenting with a narcissistic ex, this episode is going to help you understand why Father's Day grief hits so hard, even though you know that you are better off without him. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Father's Day is not just another holiday when you are co-parenting with a narcissistic ex who is the father of your children. This day is a yearly reminder of the teammate that you never got. It's the reminder of the inside jokes that never happened, the family vacations that were always talked about but never taken. And it's specifically hard to have an entire day dedicated to celebrate a man who so profoundly hurt you. You didn't sign up for this. You didn't sign up for this version of reality that you're in right now. So navigating this day, navigating this grief, it just hurts in a way that most people don't understand. So from this episode, I really want you to feel understood. First of all, I'm going to give you so much permission to grieve. Everything surrounding this day that you need to grieve. I'm going to help you understand why your nervous system needs more than someone just to say, move on, and how to actually help support yourself move through the feelings that you're feeling. And I'm going to give you some very, very simple body-based tools that you can use when you feel a swell of anger or sadness so that you can move through that without those feelings really swallowing your entire weekend. And be sure to stick around to the end of the episode where I always pull an oracle card. This offers you a message that you can use as you move through your healing this week. So let's take a deep breath and begin. Co-parenting with a narcissistic person is excruciatingly hard. And watching my clients who are moving through this experience, I've really observed two things. The first is in the situation where the man is absent. He's not predictably showing up for his visits with his kids. He's not taking responsibility or accountability. He's sort of just acting like an immature child himself. And when he does choose to show up, it's whenever he wants, however he wants, doing something super fun, and not being a responsible parent in the way that he has to take on any of the hard stuff. So when the kids do get to see him, it's sort of like this, oh my God, daddy's here. And it's this euphoria amount of fun. It's another version of love bombing that happens with the kids. And not only is this incredibly fucking frustrating for my client who's watching her ex show up as a father in this way, but it's also really harmful to the children. And she's very protective of her children in having this absent father that is showing up whenever he feels like it. The second situation that I see in my clients is where their narcissistic ex is actually really involved in their kid's life. Maybe they're splitting custody 50-50 or however it looks. And he's showing up as sort of this dad of the year. And he is telling not only all of their friends and all of his family how terrible of a person my client is, but he's talking poorly about her to the kids, saying things like, well, it's all mom's fault that we live in two houses now. She left me. I tried everything that I could do. I would never do this sort of thing to hurt my children. And of course, kids don't know what's really happening. And that puts them in a really gross situation. And it leaves my client, the woman in this case, feeling so out of control of the narrative. When my clients, and likely you, if you're listening to this episode, when you married this person, you were not expecting to have to co-parent with a narcissistic person, right? That was not something that you prepared for. Likely, when you got pregnant, you had this vision of a family. You had this vision of having the mom and the dad and the kid or kids together under one roof, having these inside jokes, laughing, playing, like joyful banter, joyful energy in the house. You had these ideas of all these amazing family vacations that you were going to take to really create these specific memories. You had a vision of what it was going to be like to share responsibility with this person that you're building a family with. You really wanted to grow old together. You wanted to put in the time and the effort to really have a strong foundation so that you could raise your children how you wanted to raise them, so that you could watch them get old as you get old and raise your adult children together. Right? That was the dream. That was the decided outcome that you created in your mind, but not out of a like obnoxious, crazy place. Likely you guys were talking about this and these were dreams that you were envisioning together. So Father's Day brings up a level of grief of losing that. So not only are you watching this person throw you under the bus with your kids or showing up unpredictably and leaving the majority load of parenting on you, otherwise being a complete asshole to you, not only are you navigating all of that, but you're having to let go of what you wish the family was going to be and the father that you wish he would be within that family unit. So there is so much grief here because likely you held on to wanting that family unit. You held on to like putting your all into trying over and over and over again as you were being dragged through the mud or abused or whittled away to nothing. You held on for probably years because of the kids, because you wanted to give them the home that wasn't broken, quote unquote, because you wanted to give them the family that wasn't broken. So this layer of hope is one of the 45,000 layers of hope that you have to grieve when you let go of the relationship. When you let go of the relationship, you're letting go of that hope. So not only are you losing the person who occupied space in your life, you're losing all of the possibility of that person turning into all of these different things, all of these little different places that you put your hope. You have to let go of all of those things and you have to grieve and shed all of those realities. And this reality that you're in, again, isn't the one that you would have picked for yourself. Being in a really tense, strange relationship with your narcissistic ex and having to fight uphill with every conversation to try to create some sort of balance to raise your children is really hard. And likely if you've gotten to the point where you have divorced this person, you can see him for who he actually is. You see the level of manipulation, of gaslighting, of intentional pain that he was causing you, the isolation. So this day is really a mirror to who he is and who he could never be. There is so much grief. What's especially tricky about grieving a narcissistic relationship is we can really get confused as to how we can feel duality. How can I be so clearly certain that this person is harmful to me and my mental health? And also really sad that that relationship didn't work, that that family didn't become what I had hoped it would become. And you're sitting with these two seemingly opposite feelings or seemingly opposite beliefs. And if you don't have the right tools to be able to hold those and understand those, they sort of collapse into just this feeling of shame. Like, why am I still missing this person? Why am I still sad about this life that never came to fruition? Why can't I let him go? Why am I still stuck on the man that I know that he can't be for these kids? Right? And it starts to become a very self-focused, shameful place. And so what I want to offer you is that compassion and processing grief is never going to come from a place of self-judgment. We actually cannot access both of those things at the same time. So how do you get out of that shame place? How do you get out of the self-judgment place? If that's what comes up when you feel like this entrance into grief, it's almost like the shame bouncer pops up and is like, nope, you're not going down there. That's not a safe place to go. We're just going to make it about you so that you fixate and ruminate on what you did wrong up here. So when you are presented with feelings of grief and you're not used to feeling sadness or anger in the levels that maybe you need to feel sadness and anger around what happened, first thing that you need to do is regulate your nervous system. That bouncer is up there protecting the door to the grief because somewhere in your system, it's sensing that you're under a threat. When you're under threat, think of it like a lion chasing you. Your only goal is to get away from the lion. It's not to try to understand why the lion's chasing you or process how you feel about the lion chasing you. There's just a threat there. So that bodyguard, that shame is sort of acting as this protector for you to not go into these places that it knows that your body can't handle. So you want to signal from your body to your brain, not your brain to your body, but your body to your brain that you're safe. 80% of information goes from your body to your brain. 20% goes from your brain to your body. That is why trying to convince yourself that it's okay to feel this grief, even though everything inside of you, and maybe literally you're clenching, your shoulders are up in your ears, you're clenching your fists, your body is signaling like, no, I don't feel safe enough to explore this. That's why trying to convince yourself that you're safe or you're okay or that you shouldn't be feeling this thing, it doesn't work. So what you need to do is regulate the system. There's a lot of ways that you can regulate the system. So let's talk about some somatic ways. Somatic is a fancy word for body-based. So we're just using the body, again, to send a signal to the brain, hey, we're safe, we can regulate, there's not a lion chasing us. So one of my favorites is called the heel drop. So you would just be standing flat and you go up on your tippy toes and drop your heels. Up on your tippy toes and drop your heels. Up on your tippy toes and drop your heels. The feedback of feeling your heels hit the ground reminds you that you're on something solid. And when we can understand we're on something solid, it helps us to feel grounded. It helps to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. Another one is the butterfly hug. So if you just cross your arms over your chest and reach your opposite arms to your opposite shoulder, and then you gently alternate tapping as you are moving through whatever you're moving through, that's going to help to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And then one of the tools I use all the time with my clients that I love the most is EFT tapping. This is where you're tapping on a series of points on your face and your torso in a specific sequence that activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Within my program, I have a whole module called Return to Self Practice, and it walks through so many of these tools that you can pull from whenever you're feeling those triggering moments. It is so helpful for my clients to be in an activated state and be like, okay, I'm picking that video, I'm gonna do that. Aside from the somatic options to find nervous system regulation, you could take a bath after the kids go to sleep. You could still go to the park with your kids, but you could park yourself on the park bench, watch them, really take in, scanning your head from side to side, taking in all of the nature that's around you, really feeling your feet on the earth. If you can take your shoes off, even better. Really, again, feeling that sense of being grounded. You could call a girlfriend for some co-regulation. So regulating your nervous system doesn't have to take an entire day. In fact, it's better to do in smaller moments throughout the day. So whenever you feel the urge of sadness or the urge of anger or, gosh, I just need to cry, can you give yourself 5 minutes in the bathroom while you do a butterfly hug and let yourself release some of that built up emotion, built up energy? It wants to move. Energy wants to move. The more that you can make your body feel safe, the easier that it's going to be for you to move that emotion and make understanding about what you're feeling. It's called moving through grief for a reason, right? We have to go through it, and it sucks. It sucks, and there's not a specific amount of time that it's going to take. There's not a specific way it's going to look. It's going to hit you when you're standing in line at the grocery store and your toddler's having a meltdown. It's unpredictable, which is inherently scary, right? It's not a familiar thing. So the more that you can give yourself the gift of nervous system regulation, the easier it's going to be for you to welcome each wave of sadness. What also happens when we regulate the system is that we begin to be able to separate our experience of feeling sadness from being a sad person. So it's no longer about an identity conflict. It's, oh, I have a part of me that's really fucking sad that this looks the way it does because this wasn't how it was supposed to be. Okay, I understand that. That makes sense to me. Can I tend to that part of me? Can I be curious about her? And when you invite in curiosity to what you're feeling, then you can go even deeper. You can go even deeper into tending to yourself, giving yourself what you need to move through that grief, and making understanding of why it hurts so bad and why it's still present for you. So regulating the nervous system, inviting in curiosity, giving yourself this space. And before you say, I have no time, I want you to really ask yourself, is that true? And if it is true, who can you call on in your village to help give you a moment, whether it is 10 minutes or an hour, where you can do something that is really going to refill your cup so that you can continue to be the mom that these kids really need? Because if their father is a narcissistic person, they are not getting the love and the care and the attention and the empathy and the what they deserve from that parent. So they need it from you, which is why your self-care is not just about you anymore. It's about your kids. So think of it in that level of importance. I need to refill my cup so that I can pour into my kids, because the other cup that's supposed to be pouring is not pouring into them. Taking care of you has to be a priority, especially this weekend, but always. Always you have permission. You have permission to feel any feeling that's coming up. You have permission to ask for help. You have permission to take time for you. You have permission to get curious about the guilt that's going to come up when you do these things. You have permission for all of it. So especially this weekend, especially on Sunday, especially leading up to Sunday, really stay tuned to what am I feeling, what's trying to come up that I'm pushing back down or distracting myself with or running away from. And I say that with love because I've done it too. Be curious about what's presenting, because the grief that you're feeling because of Father's Day is real. It's real, and you are allowed to move through that. And if you're in a place of really wanting to dive into this grief, know that this is what I do for my clients. I hold the space to process the experience of being in a narcissistic relationship, of process being in a narcissistic cycle, of moving through one of the 40 bajillion layers of grief that comes up from these relationships, and really giving you that clarity and that understanding so that you can feel peace more of the time. I have a link to a free intro session in the show notes if you are feeling called to a deeper level of support. I'm here for you. Okay, and to move into Father's Day, let's just see what the message is that wants to come out that you need to hear. Elevator to Your Deep Heart is the name of the card. So let me find that message in the book and I'll read to you what it says. Elevator to Your Deep Heart invites you to take a slow ride down into the deepest part of your heart, the place where pure love lies, descending into that warm, accepting, all-encompassing heart space, the place where you originated and where you will always find love. This perspective shift is needed now, especially if you are feeling depleted, lonely, scared, or unloved. This card compels you to sink into the place of divine love that exists inside. To journey to the sacred space, close your eyes and imagine you are stepping into a beautifully adorned elevator. With each breath that you exhale, feel yourself slowly descending deep inside to the center of your heart space. 10, 9, 8. When you reach the destination and your doors open, notice what your senses take in as you explore the sacred and safe space. When you're ready and have soaked up all that you need, step back into the elevator and slowly return to the present space. Know that you can access this rich, pure, infinitely loving space anytime you need. Another good, beautiful regulation tool is meditation. So I love that. Visualization and meditation. Perfect card to end this episode. So until I see you in that intro session or I see you in the next episode, please know your grief is valid and you are not alone.